I know that many players want to use Alpha because he's such a strong and fun hero to play, but the truth is, a lot of them still don't really know how to build him the right way, and that's one of the biggest reasons why they can't maximize his full potential. Alpha is not the kind of hero you can just pick and build randomly if you don't understand his strengths, his weaknesses, and how to adjust your build based on the situation. He'll feel weak and easy to counter. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you how I personally build Alpha and explain why each item matters for him. But that's not all. I'll also share with you how I actually use him properly in real matches, especially in tough situations like when enemies are constantly invading or when the enemy team has a lot of crowd control skills. Because it's not just about the build, it's also about how you position, how you time your skills, and how you adapt during fights. As you can see, I was able to secure 2 kills right away, and that's already a huge advantage, because when your jungler gets early kills and early gold, it changes the entire pace of the game. It allows you to build your core items much faster, clear objectives more quickly, and put pressure on the enemy team before they even have a chance to scale. That kind of momentum in the early game is extremely important. It gives your whole team more map control, more confidence to take fights, and a much higher chance to snowball the lead into a win. Look here, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Notice how greedy I am in this situation, and the reason for that is simple. I have a level advantage, and when you're ahead in levels during the early game, that's a massive edge you can use to pressure the enemy and control the tempo of the match. Being ahead means your damage is higher, your durability is better, and you can confidently take fights that you normally wouldn't if you were behind. That's why having an early game lead is so important. It doesn't just make you stronger, it also lets you play more aggressively and punish enemies whenever they make a mistake. By the way, my first item here is War Axe, and this item is extremely important for Alpha. A lot of Alpha users make the mistake of building Sky Piercer early, which is actually not the right choice. War Axe is the most essential first item for Alpha because it gives him everything he needs in the early game damage, cooldown reduction, and most importantly, that stacking passive which increases his damage output the longer he stays in a fight. Alpha relies heavily on extended battles where he can keep hitting enemies with his skills and basic attacks to maximize his true damage. War Axe perfectly fits that playstyle because it lets you deal more and more damage as the fight goes on. And since Alpha is a fighter who thrives in those drawn-out team fights, building War Axe first gives you a huge power spike that helps you dominate early skirmishes and snowball the game in your favor. Also, when you're playing Alpha and you already have your core items, don't run away from fights, always look to fight back and keep going. Alpha is not the type of hero that should back off once the battle starts, especially if you're already built. His real strength shows when you stay in the fight and keep dealing consistent damage. But here's the key part, you need to make sure your skills are hitting the enemy. Alpha's spell vamp is insanely strong, and that's what keeps you alive even when you're in the middle of a chaotic team fight. Every time your skills land, you heal a significant amount, which allows you to sustain and keep fighting longer than most heroes. But if your skills miss, that healing doesn't trigger, and when that happens, you become much easier to kill. So always be careful with your aim and timing. Land your skills properly, stay in the fight, and you'll see just how unstoppable Alpha can become once he has his items. And the next item I built here is Queen's Wings. This item is super important for Alpha because it gives you that extra layer of survivability you need once the fights get more intense in the mid to late game. It gives you HP, cooldown reduction, and lifesteal, but the real reason it's so strong is because of its passive. When your HP drops below a certain point, you take less damage and gain more spell vamp. That effect is perfect for Alpha's playstyle. Since you're always diving into team fights and staying in the middle of the action, Queen's Wings allows you to survive even longer and turn fights around that you would normally lose. Combined with his already powerful spell vamp, this item makes Alpha very hard to kill and gives you the confidence to go all in without worrying about getting bursted too quickly. And since we're already ahead in both gold and items, that gives us the confidence and power to invade the enemy jungle. This is one of the biggest advantages of having an early lead. You're not just stronger in team fights, you also gain control over the enemy's resources. By invading, we can steal their buffs, delay their jungler's farm, and slow down their overall item progression. And since it's already time for the turtle fight, and I noticed that there are multiple enemy heroes gathering near the turtle, I decided to hide in a bush first. This is a very important move because rushing in without thinking can easily get you killed or waste your ultimate. By staying hidden, I can wait for the perfect timing to engage, either when the enemies are grouped together or when one of them overextends. And since their core made a mistake and we were able to take him down, that's when I decided to start taking the turtle. This is the perfect moment to secure objectives because without their jungler, they have a much lower chance of contesting or stealing it. Taking advantage of situations like this is really important whenever the enemy jungler is dead. Always look for objectives like the turtle or buffs. It's one of the smartest ways to turn a small win, like picking off one enemy, into a much bigger advantage for your team. That's exactly what we did here. We punished their mistake, secured the turtle, and increased our lead even more. And you can also see here that I'm really focusing on who I want to target, and that's very important when using Alpha, because it's such a waste if your skills keep hitting the roam or the tank. Those heroes are built to absorb damage, so you won't get much value from hitting them. Instead, you should always aim your skills at the squishy heroes like the enemy marksman, mage, or assassin. And the next item I built here is Brute Force Breastplate. This item is super important for Alpha because it gives you extra durability without sacrificing too much mobility. It provides both physical defense and HP, which helps you survive longer when diving into fights. But the real strength of this item is its passive. Every time you use a skill or basic attack, your movement speed and defenses increase for a few seconds. And here, I was actually thinking about whether I should go for Antique Cuirass to counter their Lancelot, or just go straight for Immortality. This is where decision making in item builds really matters, because your build should always adapt to the enemy lineup and the situation of the game. So in the end, I decided to build Immortality here, and since it's already a Lord fight, their Atlas started zoning us to keep us away from the objective. We couldn't kill him right away, and I also misused my ultimate in this fight. I released it a bit too early and didn't get the value I wanted. But that's totally fine because one of the good things about Alpha is that his ultimate cooldown is pretty short, so even if you mess it up once, you can still use it again soon after. The key is to stay calm and not panic when small mistakes happen. As long as you keep your positioning right and wait for the right timing on your next ult, you can still make a big impact in the fight and help your team secure the Lord, or even win the team fight afterward. But in this clash, I did end up getting taken down. And honestly, that's not a problem at all because we still secured the Lord. That trade is more than worth it even if I died. Getting the Lord gives our team a massive advantage in map pressure and objective control. And here, we finally grouped up at mid lane with the goal of finishing the game. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this video and that it helps you use Alpha more effectively in your own games. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more tips and guides like this. See you in the next video.